You're watching the polls on the JoyNews channel. A party in turmoil. The story of the opposition National Democratic Congress has cracks deepened within the opposition party, with close to 70 NDC MPs rejecting the appointment of a new minority leadership. We'll hear from the party leadership, who are standing their grounds, indicating that they will go ahead to implement the reshuffle at the minority level. And examination malpractices continue unabated this afternoon on the polls as well. We're delving into why the West African Examination Council has cancelled the entire results of some candidates and also taking them on in terms of their results outcome. We'll deal with all of these matters here on the polls, and it's mainly affecting the skin, but sometimes it can also affect the bone. Today we'll bring you that special feature on Buruli ulcer. It's all coming up here on the polls. I'm blessed Sogah. The polls, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. Don't forget that we're on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. I'm blessed Sogah. Details are coming up shortly. Well, this afternoon, the internal feud within the National Democratic Congress is deepening. A lot happening on the party's front, because that tension has escalated into a full-blown conflict today as the party remains divided over the recent reshuffle of its leadership in Parliament. One side of the party supports the leadership's decision to replace Haruna Idrisu with Kesalato Forsen as the minority leader, while the other group, made up of around 70 out of the party's 136 MPs, are rejecting the new appointment. There's tension at the moment as the conflict rages on. Details of all of that is coming to you shortly. But first, the intense discontent among some party supporters.
The Sawase MP, Muntaka Mubarak, has been replaced by Kwame Abuja as the minority chief whip in Parliament. He is among leaders of the minority side in Parliament, reshuffled by the NDC leadership. But some constituents of Asawase are displeased with the changes and want the National Party executives to rescind the decision. At a press conference, the NDC constituency secretary, Mugiz Madi, prevailed on the leadership of the party to reverse its decision.
We are yet to come to terms with the news as to whether or not such decision is taken by the Functional Executive Committee, of which both Haruna Idrisu and Honorable Muntaka Mubarak are members. Whether or not the Council of Elders of the party were consulted. Whether or not the entire minority members of the Parliament of our party were consulted. In as far as these questions remain unanswered, we are compelled to come to the conclusion that the action is undemocratic, as it lacks proper and wider consultation. We are by this statement requesting the party to withdraw these changes with immediate effect and to do the needful. These two honorable members are institutions within the party, and for that matter need to be treated this way.
Some angry party supporters later marched to the regional party office to burn car tires in protest.
We want to let them. It's true that they are doing reshuffle.
They want to destroy our party. But our simple message is, without Mutaka in the parliamentary leadership, no vote. That's our message.
Personnel from the Regional Police Command intervened to avert destruction of property. Ashanti Regional Chairman of NDC, Augustus Nanakwesi Andrews, calmed the aggrieved party supporters and assured their grievances to be channeled to the appropriate quarters. Our party has regulations and they are elders. We will make sure your grievances reach the National Executive. Please, we implore you to keep calm and not resort to vandalism. We should unite to take power in 2024.
Munyasa abutreno petition no mesomaje na baby I say yede ekono ye betu di akọ ama asumje ayida aba.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
Well, earlier today, there was a press conference by both sides. We start off with the aggrieved members of Parliament, led by Cletus Avoka.
As you are no doubt aware, there have been certain happenings in the NDC caucus front in Parliament, and some of us met today and then decided to draw the attention of our national executive on the way to sort out these matters. We would have been many more than this. About 70 people have signed a petition that we are going to summarize to you. But some of them had consented, even though they are still in their constituencies and are not yet here. Even this morning when we met, we were about 40 who met in the auditorium to take this, to concretize on this decision. And then, so it's a very short press conference that we are going to indicate. Let us start from the very word go, that we have confidence in our national executive and we respect them as such. But a few days ago, our attention has been drawn to a letter addressed to the Speaker of Parliament, indicating that the leadership of the minority caucus has been reshuffled. We are on recess. By the Speaker's invitation, we are returning on the 7th of February, 2023. So we are not yet in the House. But because of the exigencies of this situation, that is why some of us have rushed back to be able to participate in this. Against that background, too, is this when the Speaker reads the letter to Parliament, the letter he has received from the Secretary of the party that indicating the reshuffle. It is when that letter is read to members of the House that it can take effect. As at now, we are already said we are not there. So as far as we are concerned, the current leaders of the House, Honorable Haruna Idris, Muntaka and co, are deemed to still be in office. Now, the purpose of this press conference, as I've indicated, is to try to maintain cohesion in the party, is to try to ensure that we remain as a body, that we still are an appealing group to the Ghanaian populace, and that they should trust us for December 2024. So our petition is going to the Council of Elders of the NDC. We are petitioning the Council of Elders of the NDC with a copy to the National Executive, with a copy to the Speaker of Parliament, and a copy of the said petition to the former flag bearer, Honorable John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. The basis for our petition is a prayer to suspend the reshuffle indicated by the National Executive of the party until such time, signed by the General Secretary of the party. The petition is signed by the General Secretary of the party. The basis of our petition is to appeal to them to suspend the suspension exercise until such time that there's a holistic meeting of stakeholders and consultation before we take a decision. We are saying so against the backdrop that the National Executive Committee of the party a few weeks ago decided that all appointees in the party and in Parliament should remain in office until after we have concluded the parliamentary primaries and the flag bearer primaries on the 13th of May. this year, that all office holders and appointees should remain in office until the primaries are over. We are therefore surprised that the primaries are not yet taken place, they are not yet over, and a reshuffle is hitting the caucus of parliament. We think that that is premature. We have also investigated and discovered that the Functional Executive Committee, FEC, and the National Executive Committee, NEC, including the Council of Elders, did not have a formal meeting to take a decision on this matter. And then, of course, the caucus as a body was not consulted on this matter. And we think that that is quite not well in place. It is against the backdrop of this that we are humbly appealing to the national executive of the party that they should suspend their current action and let the current officers, Haruna and his team, remain in office until such time that the primaries are over and we have a holistic stakeholder consultation before we decide on the way forward. In that case, the current executive that we, as I said, are still in office, should remain in office and steer the affairs of the caucus until such time that we advise ourselves. We want to pledge our support to the party. We are committed to the party. We are committed to the focus of the caucus to assist the party in the coming elections in December 2024 so that we can form government. So we are saying this without prejudice to the merits of those who have been appointed. No. We know that we are all members of parliament, we are all competent. Dr. Foster Ato, and then the Kwame Aboja, and then the Ama Abua are very good parliamentarians. We have nothing against them. We trust them. But we are saying that the timing is not appropriate. The timing for a reshuffle now is not appropriate. And that the consequences are very, very grave for us and could negatively affect our fortunes come December 2024. It is against this background, the fact that there was no adequate and proper consultation within the ranks of the party, that we think that they should reconsider and suspend the current reshuffle until such time that we hold a meeting. Thank you very much.
Well, just to add, colleagues, just to add.
Well, the party leadership, however, is not yielding. They have confirmed changes will not be reversed.
We have also recognized that the work that they've given to us will require dedication and obviously a lot more than just sitting there. So we have said that we will deliver on just that. And then obviously we have agreed with the leadership of our party that beginning from today, there will be a series of activities that we will be undertaking. The minority caucus will have a maiden meeting with our leadership and the party leadership on Tuesday, 31st of January 2023. It is our hope that on that meeting we'll resolve all outstanding concerns. And we also wish to assure our former leaders that this leadership will work with them in good faith. And we know, obviously, that the Honorable Haruna's leadership chalked a lot of successes, and we recognize that all of us are product under his leadership. Honorable Muntaka is a stalwart, and we in this leadership will often defer to them as long as decisions are concerned and to seek their input before final decisions will be made. We believe that this team will deliver the NDC a victory from the parliamentary side, and we are determined to do just that. As I've said, beginning from today, we have announced a roadmap, and we will execute just that. And I can only say that the MPP should rather get ready. The focus shouldn't be on our reshuffle. The focus should be on what we will do as a political party to better the lot of the people of Ghana. And that is why we are here today. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we thank you for your presence here on behalf of the National Democratic Congress. We want to use this opportunity to extend our gratitude to the millions of our followers all over this country for the continued show of faith and support to the leadership of the party. We are here because of them. We've been elected by them and to work on their behalf. We are heartened and gladdened by the fact that they continue to stand firmly behind us as leaders. And they are fully conscious of the fact that we are here for just one thing, to do everything we can to ensure that this political party remains a solid vehicle to be able to deliver its mandate of ensuring that we have a great nation, a great and strong nation. And that's exactly what it is that we are working towards. The new leadership of our minority caucus has called on us today to have a conversation with us regarding the way forward, because the minority group in Parliament represents a very important wing of the party. We appreciate that the work ahead is going to require a lot of input coming from them. And of course, they understand that as a wing of the party, they need to work very closely with the leadership of the party to ensure that we can deliver the aspirations of our people, and especially being able to do what Ghana requires of us, which is to work towards taking out of power the most abysmal, the most incompetent, the most corrupt government in the history of our country. And so we've had a beautiful conversation with them. We've also signaled to them that early next week, on Tuesday, we'll be having a broader conversation with the caucus as a whole. And that conversation is one that would basically confirm the decisions that have been taken in terms of explaining the way forward, for us as a party, and the best way to be able to make sure we deliver the mandate that has been given to us, a mandate that will ensure the well-being of the people of Ghana come election 2024. So basically, this has been the conversation that we've had. We want to thank you for your presence. We want to use the opportunity to salute all our teaming supporters all over the country, thanking them for the continued show of solidarity and support. The fact that they know that in every step of the way, the leadership of the NDC is concerned about the well-being of the party, and that well-being of the party continues to be our major drive, and will never relent on our effort to make sure that the party remains supreme, and the well-being and the interests of the millions of our supporters, and the well-being of Ghana, for that matter, continue to be secure. Thank you very much.
No, we are not taking any questions.
Well, so that's what transpired at the headquarters of the National Democratic Congress. I want to bring in Dr. Asante, political scientist with the University of Ghana. Doc, thank you for spending time with us again here on the latest development. A divided front it is, but we're just wondering what the practical implications could be for the NDC now.
Good afternoon. And can you take the question again? I missed it.
Yes, so I was just pointing out how divided the NPP seems to be now in terms of the selection of the new leadership in Parliament. I'm looking at the possible implications now, practically speaking.
Well, obviously, any division within a party, it doesn't bode well for a meaningful democracy internally. So I'm sure they should be able to rise up to the occasion and mend their differences, because in unity there's strength. So you need to be able to be united in order to prosecute your agenda and have power.
But then you have close to 66, right? Or 70, if I should point it that way, in terms of number of NDC MPs who are asking for the decision to be reversed. They say that the future would look bleak for the NDC in terms of the 2024 elections if nothing is done now? Hello, Doc. It appears we're having some challenges there. But, Doc, if you can hear me, I was just asking about the numbers of NDC MPs who are then making this passionate appeal, asking the Council of Elders to intervene. And that's why I want to pick up your thoughts on the numbers that we're dealing with. This is just not a case of 1, 2, or 3 NDC MPs, but you have well over 60 MPs. Well, it appears we've lost connection to Dr. Asa Asante. You're watching The Pulse. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to The Pulse. Apologies there for the faulty connection to Dr. Asa Asante. He's back on with us. But for those of you who haven't heard by now, there's a divided front for the National Democratic Congress in terms of the selection of the new leadership on the minority side in Parliament as we speak. Of course, a delegation led by the national leadership of the party itself, and this incoming crop of leaders, Dr. Casey Olatofosin, together with some other members who are going to serve now as the new front of leadership for the NDC, heading to the Speaker's residence for an interaction. We're not clear what may transpire there, knowing that over 60 NDC MPs are calling for the reversal of that decision. We're monitoring all of that for you, and we'll bring you updates shortly. I want to bring back Dr. Asa Asante. Doc, we missed your point there when I was asking about the practical implications on the party, the NDC, which is seeking to come back in 2024. Some say it's a done deal. Just forget about the victory, regroup, and maybe after 2028 you could come back better.
Oh, it's early days yet. I'm not sure this is a big problem. It's a storm in a teacup. Yes, though I don't support the procedure that was used, but I believe the party has a duty. That duty is to reposition itself and win power. Now, the divided front that they have, it is in their own interest to mend their differences and forge ahead. Those who are not happy, I can understand them. It's not easy to be, booted out of office like that. But let us remember that the party has a duty, and its duty is to win power. So it is all part of their program to bring all hands on deck and work together and support the new leadership. Any other grievances that they have, they should continue to channel it to appropriate institutions within the party. But if they have any feeling and that they want to do anything to undermine the leadership of Parliament, it is going to affect the general interest of the party, which I'm not sure, if you listen to their statement very carefully, they still love their party, except that they have problems. Problems are bound to come, but when they come, people must muster courage and deal with them head on. So I think they will work on that and then give the new leadership that space, that power, and that support so that they can all work together and salvage their own party and then prosecute at the end of 2024.
And for the very first time, we're seeing one of the affected individuals, Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak, come out publicly. He's saying that it appears that there are some challenges, fundamental flaws with even the letter that's been written to the Speaker now.
Yeah, the challenges are there. Definitely they will come because feathers have been ruffled, so you can understand. But let us look at it this way. Is it in their interest to undermine the very system that is going to help them to articulate their views clearly at the national level in Parliament, or they want to salvage the interests of the party? That should not be a dilemma. There should be a straightforward decision to support the party and move on. Any other differences can be discussed and then dealt with, in no time. But the corporate interest of the party is critical. My worry is that I don't understand why people are not prepared to accept the fact that, yes, once you are put in a position, a time will come that the position can be taken from you, but appointing authority. That appointing authority which appointed you and you are so happy can disappoint you. And when that comes, you must be able to take it in your stride and move on. But if you want to rock the boat, I'm afraid they will all suffer the consequence thereof.
Well, I'm just wondering what's at stake for the likes of Haruna Idrisu, who is described as someone who has a firm, grip over his own constituency, Tamale South. It's not as though he's losing the next elections. What do you think? What's your outlook on that?
I'm not sure he will lose the next election because Haruna is a very strong person. Let us remember that he has performed creditably in Parliament, distinguished himself as a true MP, loyal to his party, dedicated to the service of an NDC and Ghana and the rest of them. There's no doubt in my mind that this exercise that the party is carrying out is an effort to undermine him or to, as it were, throw away what he's achieved over the years. No. So, and he's very strong in his constituency. So all these things are there. But at this point in time, the party said this is the direction they are going. Remember that before they come into office, they also kicked some people out and brought them in. Right. That process will continue to come until the coming of Christ again. So people must brace themselves for that and prepare. I'm sure Haruna is so much experienced that these things he can put behind him. Muntaka, I'm sure he has seen this thing time and again, and it's not going to come to him as a surprise. All that they need is to help the new leadership and move on. And then the new leadership also have a duty, a role to play. The role is to be able to extend an olive branch to them, bring them closer to the table and work with them. Try to deal with some of the pain and then move on. And they shouldn't be seen as people who lord it over their people. They should maintain the collegiality and they should be able to maintain their focus and posture so that at the end of the day, the interest of the party will be served. That is all. But if they do anything otherwise, I am afraid they will have their fingers bent.
Dr. Asante, you'd want to hold on for us at this moment because we're getting some feed coming through from the Speaker's residence, where I indicated earlier that the national leadership of the NDC is currently at. My colleague, Kweku Asante, parliamentary correspondent, joins us now from that venue where that engagement is underway. Kweku, what can you report?
Some vehicles just arrived here at the Speaker's residence, made up of the team from the minority leader, his deputy, the Chief Whip, Governor Kwame Agboja. They are set to have a meeting with the Speaker of Parliament to introduce themselves, and also as someone who is said to be a party stalwart, to have some conversation in terms of how they will be able to deal with this deepening friction within the NDC. We've been covering this extensively. We just also heard from Muntaka Mubarak, Kletu Saboka, who say that they do not recognize this decision from the party. Muntaka says he's a member of FEC, he's a member of NEC, he's an observer at political committee and also at the Council of Elders of the party. At no point has such a decision been taken, and so he's surprised that Atoforsen and Co are carrying themselves as minority leader and minority chief whip, among others. But it appears Atoforsen and his team are completely going about their business as new leaders of the minority caucus. They have just arrived here at the residence of the Speaker. They are going to hold some closed-door talks with Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin to first introduce themselves, to work out the modalities, how they are going to work as the new minority front bench, and also seek some advice and guidance as to how they will be able to maneuver these difficult periods within the NDC, both in Parliament and outside of it. So quite some hectic hours expected to come, with this meeting expected to last for some hours. For now, I can confirm if Fifi Kwete, the General Secretary of the party, and Chairman of the party, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, are coming with the leadership. The vehicle I saw that of the Chief Whip, Governor Kwame Agboja. I saw that of Dr. Kesela Atoforsen. I've seen the vehicle also of the Deputy Whip, Ahmed Ibrahim, but I do not know yet if the leaders of the party, the persons who have taken the decision that have brought the party to this level, today themselves will be in this meeting with the Speaker. Blessed.
But then, do we know the approach this engagement will be taking as to whether or not this is a formal introduction, or perhaps a little more work is needed in convincing the Speaker, who's also a member of the NDC, not necessarily to accept, because it does not have that constitutional mandate, as many argue, but at least to try and get him on board as a critical stakeholder going forward for the NDC?
Indeed, the Speaker is such a crucial part in all this puzzle, because he would have to recognize the leadership. If he's in Parliament and says he doesn't recognize someone as leader, it will be difficult for them to work. Although, constitutionally and by way of the standing orders, the Speaker of Parliament has no such powers. One is the party, and the standing order says the minority leader is the person designated by the party in opposition. And the party in opposition in NDC have designated Dr. Kisela Tuforsen as the new minority leader. Ordinarily, the expectation is that the Speaker is expected to play ball. He's expected to recognize this person as the leader of the minority caucus. But you need this person to be able to go about some of the things you do in Parliament. So we understand that this meeting will be more than just introducing them, because, well, the Speaker of Parliament knows Atuforsen, he knows Agboja, he knows Ahmed Ibrahim, he knows every member of the team. It's already been written to officially to communicate this. And so in terms of knowing who these persons are exactly, he's aware. So this meeting will just be more than familiarization. It will be more than a meeting to introduce this new crop of executives, but to judge about how they will be able to bring together on board all these people. There are at least 65 NDC MPs who have written a petition to the Party Council of Elders, copied former President John Mahama, seeking a reversal of this decision. You need someone as influential as Aban Bagbin to try and see if he can convince one or two persons to try and bring everyone on board to be able to deal with this choppy waters that the NDC would have to navigate in the past few weeks. We know that as of this morning, there was supposed to be a caucus meeting of all 137 NDC MPs. The new minority leader said he wanted to stay that decision. He wanted to consult with broad base and the broad powers within the party, and he's doing so now. What he wants to do is to consult everyone, and then next week, Tuesday, he will meet his colleagues. It will be very interesting to see what happens next week, Tuesday, whether he'll be accepted and whether even these 65 people will turn up and recognize him as the minority leader. So, Blessed, we expect that the Speaker of Parliament will be invited today in this meeting to bring his influence on board to try and navigate all the issues that the NDC would have to deal with, to try and talk to Haruna Idrisu, to talk to Muntaka Mubarak, to talk to Cletus Savoka and others, to try and say that, try and deal with these issues. But clearly, as we have seen since morning, there is that clear division within the party. First, from Dr. Atuforsen and his team, who held the press conference insisting, without saying much, that they are the leadership of the party. And this afternoon meeting in Parliament that involved more than 50 MPs, then followed with a press conference addressed by no less a person than a former majority leader, Cletus Savoka, minority leader, minority chief whip, former, and also the former deputy attorney general, Dr. Dominic Ayene. So a lot is expected to happen in the coming days and in the coming hours in terms of how the powers that be within the party will broker this deal, which could make the NDC as they prepare for the 2024 elections.
On the itinerary, do we know if the new leadership will be moving to the residence of John Mahama? He's the 2020 presidential candidate of the NDC. Any confirmation on that?
Indeed, his name has come up very strongly in all this that we have been speaking about. Indeed, the press conference that was addressed by Cletus Savoka and the minority chief whip said that they were also petitioning the office of the former president to intervene. So he is such a big player in all this that is happening. Indeed, we've heard already allegations that have been made that he may have been the one who instigated this change of leadership. Fifi Kwete, speaking to a sister station and also speaking to us, said that the former president had been consulted and his input taken on board in this new decision to change leadership. And so former President Mahama has some role to play in all this. It is not clear yet if this team are going to meet him. But my understanding is that even if they are going to do so, it is going to be off the books. There's not going to be any announcement that the new leadership are going to meet the former president. It is not even clear if they have already met him, sought his blessings and granted them same, and also advised them as to how they should go about this new role that they have assumed. And so clearly the former president would have to go into some discussion with the new leadership. It may be that that meeting has already happened, or may also well be that meeting is about to happen. But sources close to the new leaders say that even if that is going to happen, it will be off the books. There will be no such communication to the public or to the media. Maybe afterwards, a release will be made as to what the outcome of the meeting with former President Mahama was.
Parliamentary correspondent joining us from the Speaker's residence. Dr. Asante, let's wrap up on this conversation. And I was just leaving on that point, talking about the former President John Mahama. What's his influence here, and where do you expect that he will stand in all of this?
That as a former president and then leader of the party, will be able to speak to them so that who else will prevail. But I'm not sure he will be able to do much to change the decision of the party. I'm not sure. From where I sit, I can see him do very little. Yes, as a a former flag bearer, he has a great influence within the party. He will speak, but the party decision will remain. But in all this, I will urge NDC people that the path they've chosen by writing to the appropriate quarters within the party, that is the way to go. And then in the course of that, they minimize the havoc that they would do to themselves by, be measured in their language and be tempered so that things they say against themselves will not constitute the building blocks for electoral campaign against them. Think this thing should be sent to them clearly so that in all these things, they remember that they have their party intact, that whatever differences that they have, when they resolve, they will not have the trouble of dealing with their past, which is the shadow that will haunt them.
Anyway, I would have to leave it here. Dr. Asante, I'm grateful that you've been able to spend some time with us here on The Pulse. Well, hundreds of students in more than 400 schools across the country will not have access to their basic education certificate examination results. This is because the results either have been cancelled by WAEC or withheld pending further investigations into this. My colleague Josefa Kable has details of this statement issued by the West Africa Examination Council.
The statement issued by WAEC indicates that in terms of examination malpractices, following the completion of investigations, some of the cases that were detected resulted in the cancellation of subject results of 416 school candidates and 3 private candidates for the offense of either bringing foreign materials into the examination hall or colluding with other candidates. Withholding of subject results of 38 school candidates pending conclusion of investigations. Again, cancellation of entire results of 73 school candidates and 2 private candidates for the offense of bringing mobile phones into the exam hall. It's interesting to note that quite a substantial number of students, specifically 4,309 who registered as candidates, were absent from this particular exercise. And so this is the information contained in the statement from WAEC, and they've assured that they will continue to carry out the investigations in terms of the ones that are outstanding, and subsequently they will come out to the report on what happens to the results of those candidates.
Well, Yao Pokumensa is the deputy, he's a spokesperson for the Education Ministry. We'll be hearing from him shortly. But first, the Sector Minister, Dr. Yao Osei Educhim, has come under heavy criticism for questioning why JoyNews has highlighted the struggles of rural poor peoples as part of the Schools of Shame series. He was speaking at the G-Step ceremony here in Accra.
The first reaction of anybody managing an educational system seeing this would be, how do I help these kids move from this symbolic atmosphere? And an institution is coming out with such a good documentary to help, because education is a collective responsibility. If institutions, the media, if they don't throw light on these things, who will tell the stories of these people?
I have to be honest with you, very disappointed. I mean, a certain arrogance of power which should not be exhibited. Honorable Minister for Education should reflect, and I'm sure that after reflection he will come back. What I expected to hear from the minister is that this is what we have outlined. This is our program. We have taken note. We have put together a database of the number of schools we have in this country without furniture. These are the plans.
The truth is the truth. And I can tell you that over 80% of the schools would fit into the mold that your media houses documentary captured. So why would the minister expect us to push this?
I want to bring in now Yao Pokumensa, speaks for the Education Ministry. Yao, thank you for your time here on the poll. So we start off with the concerns regarding the basic certificate examination. It appears that malpractices continue unabated. What steps are you taking just to try and curb some of these incidents?
If you watched the process, it has evolved, and we do have it on the minimal side, especially with the introduction of the serialized test item that was implemented under the leadership of Dr. Yao Osei Educhum. We didn't hear of these cases, and what is being reported by WAEC indicates students that are trying to outsmart the system, and authorities have upped their game in terms of the monitoring aspect. So therefore, anybody who does anything untoward or which is not related to the examination will have him or herself to blame, either be it an invigilator or a student. And the press release from WAEC indicates the seriousness that the minister attaches to any examination malpractice. At the end of the day, we want to see quality results, and the quality should be the merit or the strength of the student in question, not any external help from anybody. So those who have fallen foul to what was indicated or the process that was expected have some questions to answer. That is what the examination body is taking them through.
I was asking about the remedial measures because this is an unending case. It keeps happening every time WAEC is about to release their results. So the practical steps, the minister was talking about some monitoring mechanisms and other interventions.
Yes, the interventions, as the minister indicated, has been fully implemented. And I think the worry that initially were expressed has got to do with those called leakages, the perceived leakages that we were lamenting in the media space. Now, we don't hear of any leakage. Now, these are people who are trying just to outsmart the system. And it is clear the examination frowns on the bringing in of foreign materials, mobile phones, leaking mobile phones in the examination, all etc. And these are humans, and we need to expect that. That is why the punishment regime has been strengthened, and that is why some candidates do have questions to answer at the aspect of WAEC end. And when the critical issue that we need to be looking at and applauding the minister on has got to do with the introduction of the serialization that has curtailed the leakage of the examinations that we used to complain. But as it evolves, definitely the other leg of it, whoever tried to outsmart the system will outsmart you for you to be brought to face the book.
Why are you not paying attention to teachers? Of course, they have a great role to play in terms of dealing with the use of mobile phones on campus, but they are not able to do that efficiently.
I don't think the teachers are not doing what is expected, specifically with invigilators who are recruited to mandates. These items where WAEC has identified the usage of mobile phones in the process were definitely arrested by invigilators and are being taken through the process as expected. So they are doing their part, they are doing their work. I think we need to encourage them. If we are having minimal interference in this process, then it tells that they are doing a professional job that we need to encourage them to continue and hold high the professional conduct that we want them to display. And any teacher who will want to venture into this space, which opposes what the ideal process is, it is embedded in our code of conduct, the implications in engaging in examination malpractice. We do know. WAEC takes them through series of interaction, i.e. briefing them on the do's and don'ts of the examination centers. And that has also resulted in the minimal interference that we see. And I think the whole process, straight from the policy intervention of the minister through to the conduct of teachers and invigilators, we need to encourage them for them to do more, so that in the coming years, we wouldn't, students wouldn't even, or anybody wouldn't sit somewhere or want to interfere in the system. I, with the ministry as well as the Ghana Education Service, want to applaud the invigilators for the vigilant role that they played, and also want to praise the minister for the serialization introduction. Is what I think we need to celebrate and urge him to come out with innovative measures to curtail everything once and for all.
And with the release of this results, there are implications for the free senior high school policy. More intake likely, and of course there'll be an admission process altogether. I'm just wondering if you're ready for this new task.
Yeah, sure, exactly. We from all these years, we are preparing for them. We know the task ahead of us. We started with the sensitization on verification of their choice of schools, where if you have a difficulty, you report to the computerized placement center for it to be rectified. Now the results are in. We are preparing the system for the automatic placement to be done. Again, we've introduced the aspect of the STEM choices, where students or candidates do have the luxury of choosing to STEM schools if they want to be in the STEM space. So all the preparation is ongoing, and we are engaging the public as to what to do. Tomorrow there will be another conversation to the general public on the process as it has started. So classes are prepared for them. Government is prepared for them. All stakeholders within the education space are eager to meet the first years as they enter senior high school. So the system is ready, and we are ready. We know the numbers that will be coming, and we are prepared for them.
And I'm grateful that you've been able to join us here on The Pulse. Now, the graduate students of the University of Ghana have taken a bold step to address the accommodation crisis on campus by announcing plans to construct a 2,000-bed capacity hostel. A 7-member committee was inaugurated yesterday in Accra to raise funds needed to actualize the project. The committee will be working closely with the university administration and other stakeholders to ensure the project is completed on schedule. The students have stated that this initiative is aimed at providing more affordable, accessible housing for students. Esther Nkrumah now reports.
Inadequate accommodation or facilities in public universities have become a major concern to stakeholders in recent times. To mitigate this phenomenon on the University of Ghana campus, the Graduate Student Association of Ghana, Legon, has inaugurated a 7-member committee to manage a graduate student development fund. The fund was set up by the association to finance capital expenditure projects critical to the welfare of the graduate students of the University of Ghana. The funds will focus on the construction of a 2,000-bed capacity hostel in the university to ameliorate the perennial accommodation problem faced by the graduate students. Pro-Vice-Chancellor in charge of Academic and Student Affairs of the University of Ghana, Professor Gordon Awandare, led the newly appointed members to take their oath of office.
Do in the name of the Almighty God swear. Do in the name of the Almighty God swear.
Chairperson of the project committee, Nelly Abochi, encouraged stakeholders to collaborate to provide financial assistance to the project to enhance its chances of success.
So we'll be looking at all stakeholders. The objectives are clear. We'll be looking at all stakeholders, donors of various kinds. We'll come to government. We'll look at management of the university to support us students who are all working all over the country and even outside, alumni, are all target areas who we can contact to ensure that we can raise funds to build or expand the infrastructure that we have.
Pro Vice-Chancellor in charge of Academic and Student Affairs at the University of Ghana, Professor Gordon Awandari, in an interview with the media, charged the newly elected members of the Project Funding Committee to conduct their activities with transparency.
The board for the Development Fund, they have a huge responsibility. Students are going to be contributing a lot of money to contribute towards their development projects. And so they would have to manage these resources. They would have to develop strategies for achieving the goals of the development fund and ensuring that the money is used judiciously and effectively, because they are going to be held accountable by the graduate students themselves and the management of the university. So they have a huge responsibility, and we are confident that with the caliber of persons on the board, this should be achievable.
The outgoing president of the association, Christiana Edu, expressed optimism that the completion of the project will solve the accommodation challenges that graduate students face. She shared this sentiment in an interview with JoyNews.
In our engagement with our members going through our campaign and assuming the position, we realized that most of our members do not have accommodation. The accommodation on campus is woefully inadequate, having only Vaco Hall, Ekwafa and XD, and Legon Hall and XC. And so it is important that as members or leaders of our members, we need to take up initiatives that will turn around their fortunes and give them the best experience that they desire to have with the University of Ghana.
The first phase of the project is expected to be completed within a period of 2 years. Esther Nkrumah's report, read to you.
Back to the polls. Well, it's time now to talk about health. We'll definitely be going into the details for you shortly, but we're taking a break here on the polls. When we return, we'll talk about the conditions that you need to know about. And you're welcome back to the polls. Ghana, like other tropical countries, is endemic with a number of neglected tropical diseases that, if not addressed, will derail the gains made in public health. It also has implications for the development of the country. For this reason, various NTD programs have been created to help citizens of our beloved country to take the necessary precautionary measures to prevent the spread of these diseases, manage the mobilities, and if possible, eliminate them from our communities. On the show today, we're discussing the observance of the third World NTD Day, which falls on Monday, the 30th of January 2023. Dr. Joseph Obari is the Deputy Programs Manager of Neglected Tropical Diseases. He's joining us in studio. Good afternoon to you, sir, and welcome to the polls.
Thank you very much.
For those who may not be aware of NTD, just by way of education, help us understand and appreciate what it is all about.
Okay, thank you very much. Neglected tropical diseases, okay, basically stands for the acronym NTDs. And these are 20 preventable and treatable diseases. For Ghana, we have 14 of these conditions. NTDs affect about 2 billion population worldwide. And in Ghana, in every district, we have about 2 of these conditions. Unfortunately, these conditions disfigure and disable. And because of that, people may not be in gainful employment, and students may not be in school as expected. Some of these conditions are river blindness. Normally we call it onchocerciasis. We have bilharzia, okay, or schistosomiasis. Then we have lymphatic filariasis. We have yaws. You have Buruli ulcers. You have trachoma, and so forth. Good.
So these are some of the conditions that are unique to where we find ourselves in the world.
Exactly.
So what's the status of, for instance, Ghana now as a country in terms of combating some of these diseases?
A lot of work has been done, right? And I can say that when you take conditions like onchocerciasis, through the support of Ghana Health Service, partners, and also community members. About 90% of this condition, the condition has been reduced to about 5%. When you take lymphatic filariasis, the burden has been reduced, right? As at now, we have only 8, I should say, districts that we are fighting these conditions.
Right.
Formerly we had 114 out of the 260 districts in Ghana, right? So a lot of work has been done. Trachoma has been eliminated, right? And soil transmitted helmets, okay, it's also reduced drastically, and a whole lot, yeah.
But it appears that there are some that we're not paying attention to as we ought to.
Yeah, I should say that most of these conditions, what I've mentioned are those that we've really made good strides in.
Right.
But some of these conditions are still pending, right?
So we're still neglecting some.
Yes, yes, because when it comes to the global health agenda, NTDs are not normally considered per se. Then also, even we don't have direct funding for these conditions, to manage these conditions, had it not been the support from partners, right? And so forth. So this is an opportunity for us to talk so much about these conditions so that we shall get more support. People who may know of their conditions come out from the neglect and make sure that these conditions are treated.
For instance, are there some unique diseases that you're paying attention to, say, this year?
Right, all the diseases, all the 14 conditions that I've mentioned some already. So although we have these conditions, the prevalence gone so low, we still want to end NTDs. We want to get rid of all the neglected tropical diseases from Ghana. And that's what we are hoping for, so that by the year 2030, there wouldn't be any neglected tropical disease conditions in Ghana.
We know that you're marking that this is supposed to be the one, yes, on the 30th, which is happening.
Yeah.
What are you reflecting on as you mark this celebration?
Right, it's going to be so interesting. We are saying that we should act now. Okay, all hands on deck to combat NTDs. We should act together. One person cannot do it all, and we also have to invest in neglected tropical diseases, in the management, when it comes to health education, and others in other areas. And those who have these conditions also, we should be able to manage them in diverse ways. We have to train community volunteers, we have to train health workers, and so forth, right? And also we have to invest in wash facilities, because if you have water, potable water, and good sanitary conditions, no open defecation, of course, you wouldn't be affected by conditions like schistosomiasis and so forth.
The general public itself, because very often when we talk about health, people see, well, the effort should just be coming from the side of the experts.
Okay.
How are you seeking to get support from the general public as well? And what can people do to equally throw more light on these neglected diseases, create more awareness, and be part of the process?
We want everybody to be on deck, and all hands to be on deck, right? General public, we want you to talk more about neglected tropical disease. If you have any of these conditions, please don't shelve it. Come out, let us know, visit the health facilities so that your condition could be captured, right? We shouldn't open defecate, all right? Then also we must make sure that we have potable water, because most of the sources are from these conditions, these amenities, right?
So obviously you cannot do this alone just from your outfit. I'm sure that you're working as a team.
Exactly.
How are you doing that, and who's on board with you?
Right, we have our partners. Okay, we have FHI, Act West, supported consortium partner. Right. We have Side Savers helping us. We have Water Aid, right, and World Vision, and so many. WHO, of course, that is the main technical support team you have on board, right? So all that we are saying is that we need to end neglected tropical diseases. We should act now, act together, and invest in the management of and prevention of neglected tropical diseases.
Right. In the coming days, are we likely to see any special program that you'd roll out just to create more awareness on some of these conditions?
Sure, we should. On Saturday, there's going to be a health walk, which you are invited.
Oh, you have some activities already.
Yes.
Right.
And also, all the Kifi Clubs in Accra, we are calling you. Come at 6 o'clock to the Ghana Health Service, the main building at Kolebu, right? We are going to assemble over there. We walk to the headquarters of Ghana Health Service with our placards with so many messages. Then on Monday, there's going to be, that's when the great event is going to happen at the Ghana College of Surgeons and Physicians. We are going to be there, right? And shall talk more about neglected tropical diseases. So come and help us. Come and listen, go and do more education and invest in neglected tropical diseases.
In a few minutes from now, we'll be of course focusing on one of those conditions that's got to do with the Buruli ulcer. Yes. I guess it's part of that category. For those who do not know about the condition and what I mean brings the whole condition about, how do you throw light on that, and how do you create awareness for more and more people to know that indeed some of these conditions exist, and if you don't avoid some of these factors, you may be a victim to what's happening?
Right, basically, Buruli ulcers affect the skin. Okay, it's caused by bacteria, affects the skin. As to the mode of transmission, right? Okay, it's a bit difficult, dicey to say it.
Okay.
But obviously, when you have the condition, you see the ulcers all over, right? And these ulcers must be managed. They are not ulcers that within a short time you could manage. You need an expert, so you must visit the health facilities. So if you have any strange ulcer on your skin, make sure that you get to the nearest health facilities. A test will be done, and from there we take it up.
And just like any other neglected, tropical diseases, the NTDs, I should say, are you opening up some special centers within public hospitals? Just as a way of creating awareness and getting people to freely report themselves?
Right. We have, it's the normal OPD, right? When you get there, right, you go and tell the doctor, the nurses, your story. And from there, if it is a neglected tropical diseases, of course, it's going to be diagnosed and we take on the management. Are you doing some special
Coverage for those who may find themselves in that category, together with your partners? Providing some relief or respite in terms of the cost of treatment?
No, most of these conditions are captured by the health insurance.
Oh, okay.
Right. So that is it. It's an integrated kind of approach, management. So we expect that if you have the condition, just go to any nearby health facility, of course with your national health insurance. Even if you don't have it, just go there. And there'll be a solution, there'll be a way out. Because we need to get the conditions and manage them. Yeah.
As we wrap up, what would you want to let the public know as we look forward to the 30th, where obviously you'd be engaging the public more on NTDs? What special message do you have for them?
Right. The special message is that all hands should be on deck. We should all act now. Okay? We should act together and invest in the management in the prevention of neglected tropical diseases. 14 we have in Ghana. And by the year 2030, we wish we could get rid of all these conditions. Yeah.
So that's the target.
Exactly.
We hope that we meet that. But Dr. Opare, I'm grateful that you've been able to join us. But we're staying on the health front because the head of our health desk has put together the following feature focusing on Buruli ulcers and yours and how it is impacting a village in the Wassa Amenfi East municipality of the Western region.
My first one buy and it's in the second one, I buy and become control disease for no. And the honor more admit to a drusu. And the crony Cassia pa. And Siciano, I said a chrono echo. And the stain I be there or dear. The man and I'm saying, Ama Hochiraba. Said, sorry, I did dear Kurana, and he said, my wife, one son of Acopedu and Ibia Bamia. That
story of 48-year-old father of 5, Yao Odru, a farmer in the Wassa Amenfi East municipality of the Western region. He's been stuck at home for nearly 3 years, surviving on the benevolence of family and friends. His condition, the deadly Buruli ulcer disease.
Na me tim de ye adwuma ye bibibia And the last 2020, no, and February, and who said,
I was initially unaware of my condition when I first noticed a hard, painless lump in my arm. However, it did not affect my daily activities at first. But in February 2020, I started experiencing severe pain, which I initially tried to treat at home. But as the pain persisted and worsened, I sought help at the Disease Control Center. It was there that I was diagnosed with Buruli ulcer. At first, I had to go for treatment every 2 weeks, but now I go for treatment every month. I'm worried about my condition as I was able to work before, but now I'm unable to do so. My sickness began on October 26, 2021, but I am slowly getting better.
Last year, October 26th, still na a colony that that's all. Now you see the echo. 17 years, Juma.
It is affecting marriages.
The sickness has affected our sexual life, but my husband is doing well thanks to God's grace.
I am Fred Smith, and in the following report, I will examine why Buruli ulcer and yaws remain a burden for the country, especially for communities where illegal mining is prevalent, and the impact on family and friends. Buruli ulcer is reported in over 33 countries in Africa, the Americas, Asia, and the Western Pacific. Africa has the lion's share of the world's Buruli ulcer burden, with more than 95% of all cases recorded in the last decade. Ghana, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and Cameroon are the four most endemic nations. When diagnosed late, Buruli ulcer can result in long-term disability and potential disfigurement with resulting stigma. Sogah Krobo is one of the mining communities in the Wasa Amanfi East municipality of the Western region, where families are feeling the impact of the disease on their relatives.
The family has suffered greatly since my husband's sickness began. We often struggled to feed the family, and we even had to sell our cocoa farm due to the financial difficulties we faced. We are left with nothing now, but we've been able to survive through God's grace.
At least every sub-district health facility has reported 1 or 2 cases since 2018. The Wasa Amanfi East municipality of Ghana's Western region has recorded 46 confirmed Buruli ulcer cases and 253 confirmed yaws cases since 2018. Majority of it have already been fully treated. The challenge for health officials, though, is the superstition attached to the disease.
Mostly these people who are being affected, they start with superstition. They go to these spiritual healing camps. Some too, they bathe in this faith-based camp, praying that maybe somebody is causing this disease. And some too, they go to these local healers which concoct it with a lot of herbs and put the ulcer into contamination. So by the time they report to the health facilities, already the condition become worse. That's one of the reasons why some of them take long time before they are easily healed. Some too, they end up being in the room because they can no more move. They become unable to move to their farms or their areas that they need to go for their day-to-day activities. They cannot go.
In nearby Wasa Afransia in the same municipality, health officials have to be vigilant to be able to convince persons infected with the disease to visit a facility for treatment.
In 2019, we continue with our case search to almost all the communities within the sub-district, to churches, to schools, and we were able to detect 5 cases, suspected cases of Buruli ulcer. And those cases, 2 out of the 5 were positives, and then there was another one that was clinically diagnosed. And all of them were put on treatment, and then they were all cured and discharged. In 2020, we did case search where we were able to detect 4 suspected cases of Buruli ulcer in the sub-district. Out of that, 3 were positive. And then one of them, we detected it in the very early stage. The person started with traditional medicine with the notion that it is being caused by spiritual attack, or someone has, the story was she went to farm and someone has threw her medicine and she developed that condition. So we spoke to them, we cleared the misconception, and then she accepted for us to take sample. We did the test, and then the case was positive. So she was put on drugs, and she was one of the clients that has been on drugs for a very long time. But glory being to God, we were able to cure the wound, also heal without any disability.
Traditional authorities and community leaders are worried.
There is a great concern to see so many of our people suffering from this sickness. I remember my younger sibling also suffered from this disease in 1998. I had to take him to the hospital in Agroyesu, where I was told that his leg would have been amputated if we had delayed. So, I strongly advise anyone suffering from this sickness to seek immediate treatment.
The sickness is a chronic disease that primarily affects people living near water bodies. This is true for many people in our town, as several have been affected by this disease. 2 of my brothers have been especially affected, but by God's grace, others have recovered from the same sickness.
The National Commission for Civic Education is involved in educating high-risk communities in the Western region to seek early treatment. We are supporting community health officials to reach residents with information on the infections.
In creating the awareness, we are also trying our best to make it possible for the community members to be able to detect the disease very early. And also, we know that as we do the education, when they're able to detect the disease early, it's possible for it to be treated and treated well at a lower cost. So we sometimes collaborate with them by going to the communities to do video shows, educate the masses on the signs and symptoms of the disease, how we can prevent ourselves from it. And as part of NCC, part of our program is to educate the masses on environmental governance and sanitation. So through that program, we collaborate with Ghana Health Service, because we know that places where there are more dirty waters, where the environment is not clean,
and very dirty. These people living there are more vulnerable to some of these tropical diseases. So through that program, we also educate them on how to keep themselves clean and be able to prevent some of these diseases. So we usually collaborate with them by creating awareness.
Officials of the National Buruli Ulcer Control and Yaws Eradication Program are worried that the already bad situation is being made worse by the intense illegal mining activities going on in parts of the country.
If this is happening here, in fact within 10 days, we had confirmed about 150 cases of yaws, the villages that we visited. And normally you can work 3 months, you will even get 100 if you are looking for cases from village to village under normal circumstances. 150 cases within a few communities. It's an alarming case. And it's the community supposed community mining, because I don't know whether it's the one that they've been permitted to do, but they are doing it in the communities. And the whole water bodies are muddied. And with the galamsey, you slow down the flow of the river. And so we now have yours, immediately yours will be there, but Buruli also will follow. And we know in the mining areas in the western region, western north, we have so many Buruli ulcers. And now with galamsey, the incidence is going up. As for Buruli ulcer, we know that galamsey, mining and sand mining activities do increase them. But so we are seeing them. So I wasn't surprised so much. But with the yaws, I wasn't expecting that many yaws. And then I realized that it was the water, that they don't have water. And once they don't have the water to bath, with yaws, if you don't have water, the cases will go up. So that explains it. So if this is how the galamsey, I hadn't seen some before that serious. If this is how it is in the communities, sitting here, it's not a pleasant thing for me, because let's give ourselves the next 10 years. We are going to see the kokram that we were seeing some 50 years ago. Yes, we are going to see them.
In October 2022, the WHO convened a meeting of countries with prevalence of Buruli ulcer, yaws, and other neglected tropical skin diseases. That meeting has given rise to what the WHO calls the integrated approach to dealing with NTDs. The strategy is to bring together all aspects relating to the treatment and management of skin NTDs, from the training of healthcare workers to fighting the stigma, discrimination, and socioeconomic disadvantages that so often compound the clinical aspects of the infection. Thankfully, a piece of positive news on the horizon, as researchers at the University of Ghana have developed the Buruli Ulcer Discovery Database.
The idea was to create a one-stop shop for drug discovery for Buruli ulcer, which is a neglected tropical disease. Now, the problem is that there are scattered pieces of research on possible drug targets or on possible drugs that can be used to treat Buruli ulcer, or research that has sort of investigated potential plant supplements or natural products that can cure Buruli ulcer. But these are all scattered across literature. So the idea was to create a database that pulled all of these resources together, put together every single study that has ever been done on drug discovery for Buruli ulcer in a one-stop shop idea, so that researchers can access all of this information from that single database. It saves time, it saves a lot of energy on trying to figure out what has already been done so that you don't do the same thing again. And then it creates a platform for easy discovery of what to do next in the whole search for a possible drug for Buruli ulcer.
The National Buruli Ulcer Control and Yaws Eradication Program is targeting to reduce the cases significantly.
So not all districts are reporting the same. Some are not even reporting at all because either their capacity has not been built to do it, or they don't have, sometimes their capacity have been built, but they don't have the resources to go out there and look for the cases. For yours and Buruli, because basically they don't cause pain, people don't report to our facilities, and they are not diseases that will kill you. They will maim you. What you do, they will maim you. You end up with a disability. And so for us, because of the disabilities, the complications that come as a result of these diseases, that is why we are forced to go out there to ensure that we don't have the diseases, at least if we don't want some of them to occur. And those that occur, we don't want them to be serious. We want the mild forms of that. And so what we do for Buruli, for yours, we know how it's transmitted through direct contact. And you can't prevent people from getting contact into each other. We don't even have a reservoir. So what you do is we want to treat everybody. When we see that it's in the community, we treat everybody en masse so that nobody has it to transfer to the other. For Buruli ulcer, we don't know how it's transmitted. And so we cannot break transmission. So what we do is to identify the cases early and treat them, so you don't get the diseases being in the community. And then we give education so that people know that this can be Buruli ulcer or jaws or whatever. So what happens is they report early, so they don't get the big lesions that are associated with Buruli ulcers. So once districts are not reporting, we don't know the number of cases, and now we don't have resources to go nationwide to tell who is having what. Some are not reporting at all. So we go into the data set, and then a zero. It doesn't mean they don't have the disease, they have. With our expert support, we've seen, these cases in all the districts, all the 15 districts we are working in. We find yours in all of them. We found Buruli ulcers in all of them, and then leprosy too in all of them.
Sarah has now gained knowledge about the disease and wants to educate her family and friends about it. Her key message: get early treatment to increase your chances of avoiding deformities. For now, she can only look forward to the day her husband gets fully healed.
My husband's skin sheared off when the sickness first began, but he eventually healed. However, it resurfaced again later on, causing him severe pain. We had to take him to the hospital for treatment, but he is responding well to the treatment now, by the grace of God.
And that's all we have for you here on the Pulse. I'm Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com. Updates on our stories there. Next is Let's Talk Showbiz. Thanks for watching.